We are in our 5th week of our values series, and the purpose of this is to really just kind of let you guys become aware of the primary engines that run our ministries. So what are the values, these engines that move Trinity forward? Now, we believe that these values are more than just essential pieces of this ministry. We believe that they are essential pieces of the Christian life. The text that we're going to be using today is outward focus. The text that we're going to be using is Ephesians 4. We read through the greater text a minute ago, but specifically we're going to teach on Ephesians 4, 11 through 12. And he gave, so he being God, gave to the people of God. So God gave to you, the people of God in general, he gave them as a gift, as a present. The apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and the teachers. And the purpose of this gift was to do what? To equip the saints for work of a ministry, for building up the body of Christ. We're going to come back to that and study it in detail here in a minute. Many of you know this. I grew up a large portion of my life in Oklahoma and loved it. Loved being down in Oklahoma. Has anybody here ever been to Oklahoma? Right now, I get it. Some of you have driven through Oklahoma and you're like, there's nothing there. No, I get it. There's nothing there. That's what makes it so awesome. So for people that like the country and like getting out, I have memories of riding motorcycles and four-wheelers and fishing and hunting and camping where there is nothing. And do you know how awesome that is in the day and age of this? Like I still at times miss those summer nights with my high school buddies going out to, we called them cow ponds, the little ponds in the middle of ranches or wherever. And we'd set up, sometimes we wouldn't even use tents. We'd just sleep out on the ground or in the back of pickup trucks, and we'd hunt and fish and love just being outside. Oklahoma is beautiful because there's nothing. The other part of growing up down in Oklahoma, spending time down there, was you get to learn a lot of Native American history. And one of my really good friends growing up, we played football together. He was a much better athlete than I was. He was full-blood American Indian. And his family had a property that had been in their family line since the Trail of Tears. And it was always so awesome to go explore, see, that area. They had stories that their family would talk about from coming down through that. Loved American Indian history. The Native American history was so fun to study. And one of the guys that they would teach us, or that we talked about, was a good old boy by the name of Jim Thorpe. Maybe you know him. I got his picture up here. And Jim, this guy, 1912 Olympian, he was the first Native American in the Olympics representing his own country. Okay, so others had recruited people with Native American blood to represent other countries, but he was the first one representing his country. This guy was known among Native Americans, he is known as a will not give up. No matter what it takes, always to the end, I will give my all kind of individual. Like he's like the opposite of most people today. Most people today, like the mantra of today's culture is, it didn't go my way and it's all your fault. That's the mantra of today's culture, right? It didn't go my way, things aren't working my way, I don't like the way it is, and it's all your fault. Now check out Jim's picture. We can go put this back up here again if you can. If you look at Jim's picture, you'll notice this. Jim has, he has two different shoes on. Not just does he have two different shoes on, he's got like what appears to be multiple socks on this foot and maybe no socks on this foot. Here's what happened as the story goes with Jim. Never give up, always to the end, will give his all, Thorpe. So he shows up to the Olympics, 1912. People aren't entirely sure what to think of Jim. He is true American, not the new variant of American in 1912, representing what he believes to be true America, right? Wherever you fall on that. He shows up, and right before he goes to run the race to represent his country, somebody steals his running shoes. Now, in our day and age, that's the time where we tap out and we get in front of we get in front of the cameras and we go, not my fault, I'm persecuted, everybody's picking on me, life is so terrible, poor me. That's what would happen today, but not Jim. As the story goes with Jim, this dude literally went dumpster diving. Found himself what appears to maybe be a loafer, Not entirely sure. And then some other shoe, I don't know what that is. Now, as the story goes with Jim, never give up, always to the end, give it his all Thorpe. As the story goes, this guy, dumpster diving, ended up with a shoe that was too big, had to put on multiple socks to make it fit. And over here, he might have no socks on, not entirely sure, to make one that was a little too, or the one that was a little too small, fit. So Jim goes out in this new attire, 1912, wins 2 gold medals. Always to the end, never give up, I'm in this. Now in Native American, if you had grown up in Oklahoma and have some Native American education, which I did, it was a part of our education, was learning Native American history down in Oklahoma. If you grow up, you would know that Jim is kind of a staple guy that they would use to just encourage people to go, hey, don't quit. Stop making excuses. Give this your all. Give it your all. I came across this quote by J.D. Greear. He was talking about Christians and Christianity today in our modern culture. And J.D. Greear says this: most people won't sacrifice for the mission. Now, when he says mission, he literally means like the work of God. They won't sacrifice for the mission because they don't feel deep within their souls. I'm talking that inner drive, will not quit, do what is right to the end. Most of us won't sacrifice for the mission because they don't feel deep within their souls that the mission is really worth sacrificing for. I mean, really, in all honesty, the God of our modern age is convenience. If I can make Christianity convenient enough for you, you might do it. If I can make a missions trip convenient enough for you, you might go on it. If I can make giving to the poor convenient enough, you might actually do it. I mean, I find myself even guilty of this. I mean, the truth is, and I hate to even admit this publicly, but I'm going to because it needs to change. I find my likelihood to give to somebody on need that's on the side of the road. Now, if you don't want to give money to them or whatever, go and pick up a meal or it is totally dependent on whether I happen to have something on me. Am I actually going to go out of my way to prepare to bump into the poor people on the side of the road begging? I met an individual not long ago, and he said, you know what, I don't want to give money because I don't know whether I can really trust them or what they're going to do with it, so I decided in my heart I'm going to give shoes. And once a month, he goes and he buys a bunch of shoes, puts them in his car, and as he's driving to and from work, there's always people in the city, asking for stuff, and he leans over and he's like, what size do you wear? It's always a funny thing to ask. What size do you wear? It probably throws them off. Maybe they know who he is now. And he'll even go to different exits, and he tries to re-shoe them, or he'll do socks. And he'll pull up and go, here's socks. But at the end of the day, is that the perfect way to help them? I don't know, but I know this. He is really, truly trying. Inconveniently trying. And the inconvenient part is rare. It's rare. Came across another quote in reading over the last, those that know I love to read, and so I've been reading a number of different books talking about these ideas. And this is physician Thomas Hale talking about his time working with Lesslie Newbigin, who you might know, famous pastor, missionary. And he says this, no one, so this is Newbigin's work, but it's out of Hale's work on Newbigin. He says this: no one can say, since I'm not called to be a missionary, I don't have to evangelize my friends and neighbors. There is no difference in spiritual terms between a missionary witnessing in his hometown and a missionary witnessing in Kathmandu, Nepal. We are all called to go, even if it is only to the next room or to the next block. You are either, now I love the way he words this, you are either a missionary or a mission field. You are either a missionary or a mission field. There isn't an in-between. There is no third option, Lesslie Newbigin. Here's the thing I'm beginning to realize. So I started doing ministry in the fall of 1999, part-time as a youth pastor, which is crazy because I'm getting close to 20 years. 20 years of doing this. That's weird to think about. And as I approached 20 years, I was kind of thinking this through, like, what is it that actually gets people to move forward spiritually? I mean, I've sat in my office with people that have been unfaithful to their spouse. And they're in my office, and they're in tears. I've had this happen many times. And you're talking with I've even talked with the unfaithful person. And I'm going, man, you are killing your marriage. Your kids are falling apart. You have got to stop this. And I have heard so many times just the flow of excuses and reasons why they can't stop, or it's not their fault, or I'm not intimate in my own marriage, and there's problems here, and we always fight about, and I can't stand. The flow of all these excuses of why they can't obey God or adjust their life. Or how many times I've sat in my office with people that battle of addictions. And just as I'm trying to get them to move forward in their faith, the truth is I can't get the journey convenient enough for them to actually want to do it. This is what I'm learning. If you live looking for excuses to be obedient to Christ, I can't outpace your reluctance and excuses. Until your heart changes, you will find a reason not to obey. Until your heart changes, you will find a reason not to obey. Our purpose, really in all honesty, our purpose as we talk about this value, outward focus, and we've said this every week, it's so important. Our purpose is this: Trinity works to make disciples, and why making disciples, that activity, make disciples by forming a right identity, knowing who you are, right activity because of who you are, what should you be about, and right attitude as you are taking these two on. That's what we try to do. We want to form disciples who have a right godly identity, a right godly activity, and a right godly attitude as they approach these things. Now here's the crazy part. Christians, I love you. If you are not a believer and you are here on fall break weekend, that's really cool. If you're watching online or listening on the radio, and you're thinking, man, I know Christians, and I know who they say they are, and I know what they don't do, and I know the kind of attitude they have. I want to tell you, you really don't have a true, full Christian. I mean, getting the identity, getting the activity, and getting the attitude right, this is what we want to produce in the ministry here. Now, this value that you see, so if you walk through the church, the value today is outward focus. So if you walk through any of our campuses, any of our locations, and you see our mission statement, if you go online and you read it, this is what you're going to find: outward focus. Our passion for God fuels our passion for the lost. To be the church is to share God's heart for lost people. Now notice this. What fuels our evangelism? Listen, if God doesn't set your heart on fire, you will find a reason not to obey. The onslaught of excuses will come. I will not be able to make following Jesus convenient enough for you. Because following Jesus is very much not convenient. And until your heart is lit ablaze, and sometimes it happens right away, sometimes it's over time, sometimes you know you don't love the things that you know you should love, and you need to pray, God, ignite my heart. I love the way Dr. Del Tackett says it. Dr. Del Tackett, years ago I heard him say this. He said, Lord, in a prayer, he was crying out to God. He said, Lord, help me to want you. I know I don't want what I should want. Fix that inside of me. Our passion for God fuels our passion for the lost. To be the church is to share God's heart for lost people, whether it is across the street or around the world. We are called. We are called to proclaim the gospel. God has called each of us to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Back to our text. Ephesians 4:11-12. I'm going to put it up on the screen. And he gave. So what is this? God gives as a gift, a present, like Christmas morning. You wake up, you're excited, you run downstairs, the presents are all there, right? God gives, wrapped in a bow, to the church, to you, his people. He gives you a gift. He gave you the gift of the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, and the shepherds, and the teachers, so that you don't have to do anything for his work. They'll do it all for. That's not what it says. He gave the apostles and the prophets and the evangelists and the shepherds and the teachers to do what? He gave those gifted with evangelism to teach and equip the saints for the work of ministry. You don't say, I don't have the gift of evangelism, I don't have to do it. You say, I don't have the gift of evangelism, somebody that does have it, teach me how. That's what it says. Teach me how. Like a gift with a bow. These gifted people are given to you to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. I love the way the Crossway Study Notes, it's a collection of different authors and thinkers. In their commentary, they say it like this. Those church leaders, talking about the apostles, prophets, etc., are to equip all saints, all Christians, everyone, literally the Greek there, all encompassing believers in God. They are to train them up so that they can do the work of ministry. This is all hands on deck. The Bible Knowledge Commentary, another great group, a collection of Bible scholars, says it like this. And they actually do some linguistic work here. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I'll give you a little piece of it. The purpose of the gifted men, the purpose, God gives them as a gift. God gives as a gift gifted men and women to you. He gives them to prepare God's people for works of service. The Bible Knowledge Commentary, that collection of thinkers, goes on to say, more literally, the purpose is for perfecting or equipping. There's a Greek word here that's used that's really important, and you wouldn't get it unless you know the historical context. The Greek word is the word that's used for mending nets for fishermen. So here's what's happening in this text. Basically what's being stated is, hey, God gives as a gift to all the people, to everybody sitting out there even today or listening on the radio that might be Christian, followers of God. God gives as a gift these talented people to mend your nets so that you can go back to fishing. So when you come here on Sunday mornings, the purpose is not your entertainment. That's not why we do what we do. The purpose of you coming here on Sunday morning is to mend the net of effective ministry in your heart, and then to go back to the work of fishing, as Jesus says, for men. This room, it is not a cruise ship where you sit back and you wait to be waited on. This room, it is not some wonderful, awesome, massage place. I've never had a massage. Where you go and you lay down and relax and let the pastoral team and staff go, let me take care of all of those. That's not what it's for. This room, it's like a shop to work on what's broken. It's like a gym to get you in shape. It's literally, the way it's worded in Greek here, it's literally the place in which the tool that you use to do the work is mended and made right. All Christians participate. I'm going to invite Josh up and we're going to be done in just a few minutes. I have been to Disney World one time. Now, you got to know my personality. I tend to be one of those people, so like if you bump into a bunch of people and everybody goes, hey, this is going to be really, really awesome, I'm the guy that goes, no, it's not. Like, I don't know why. I'm just built that way. I got a little pessimist in me. I don't know. So if everybody thinks that Disney World is awesome, there's part of me that never wants to go to Disney World. But I got kids and a family, and they make me do stuff. So we went down to Disney World here a couple years ago. I've been once. And I remember kind of inside, I'm not even sharing this with my kids. I've talked about it with my wife. But all the way down, what's going through my mind is like the cost, what we could have done with the money. This is not going to be nearly as awesome. I mean, my personality, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it at a level that other people will, right? So I get there and it's, I don't know, you walk into the park. My boys are old enough that they're not really caught up in the magic. But then my little girl, Emma, was pretty young at the time. She would have been, what, like 6, 7, maybe when we went there, something like that. And I realized that you don't experience Disney through your own eyes. You experience Disney through the eyes of your kids. That's really different. So you watch that little girl just light up with the Disney princesses. And she is over the top excited. And for the boys, it's like Universal Studios, and the rides, and they like that. We went to Legoland. But man, when you're there, you realize the magic isn't in you being impressed, because we're adults. And I'm a little pessimist anyways. It's going to take a lot to impress me. And even if it really is impressive, I will try to find ways to not be impressed. Which may be something sinful in me. We're working on that still. But man, when you look at it through the eyes of that little girl that is captivated by those princesses. And then the fireworks show that night, man, it was over the top. I mean, listen, I've never been to a fireworks show quite like Disney World if you've never been. I mean, at the top of the castle, there's like this zip line and a fairy, like a real person, attached to this zip line with wings on, comes out of the castle, and there's like fire, like literal fireworks and sparks shooting out of the back of her wings as she flies. And somehow they take all of this stuff that basically explodes and they make it like dance in the sky and with the music and all the activity. And I mean, it's over the top. And you look at your little girl and my kids, and even my boys were pretty impressed with the fireworks show. I mean, it was a big deal. And it is so awesome. Never seen anything like it. The next day you come back and you look around and you realize there is no evidence that anything happened last night. I mean, they clean up really well. There's not a shell on the ground. There's no evidence that there was tons of explosions that happened. Nothing. J.D. Greear says that is the perfect example of churches in America today. We have the flashiest, biggest shows of any ministries around the world you can find in America. I mean, you want to be rocked by the lights and in awe of the music, and I mean, you want to be captivated in the emotion of the moment, but by the time Monday morning rolls around, there is no real leftover residue. We love church to entertain us, not change us. And the moment church gets awkward, we want to go find a place that just entertains us, not changes us. Greear in his work goes on to say that what we need is we need all believers to stop just watching big, really cool shows happen and start owning it themselves. And this is how he compares it. He says in his work, he said, imagine that I take a stick of dynamite. It's not pretty, it's not flashy. I mean, you may not be able to proclaim the gospel with near the poise and excellence and nearly as much flash. You don't have degrees that you're sitting on, religious degrees, right? I mean, you don't have all this. You can't make it look as big and pretty and flashy and amazing as the big show, but what you got is like a really kind of messy stick of dynamite. Your heart loves Jesus, but it's going to come out a little messy. It's not going to be as pretty. And he said, what we need is we need Christians with their less perfect messiness to go and plant that truth deep in the lives of the people that they do life with. And he says, if I take a stick of dynamite and I stick it in the ground and light it, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be flashy, but you better believe there's going to be something left over. The ground will be shaken. There will be evidence that something happened. The church today does not need a flashier show. The church today needs its people to actually do the ministry. in their own messy, imperfect ways. When you have spiritual conversations with your children, when you pray over them and you trip over your words and you don't say it quite right, when you talk with your neighbor about the life changes happen in you and it doesn't come out perfect, it is still more transforming than the magic of Disney church. The future of the church in America is not in the show. It's in the average Joe. I will never forget, a number of years ago when I was working as a youth pastor, there was a family in our church, prominent family in our church. And I worked with the kids, and I was talking with these kids one day. I was taking one of the high school, he was a really cool guy, high school guy, played football. I would lift weights, actually I go and lift weights with the high school football team on and off. It was one of the ways that I got to connect with the students in the community. And I was driving this guy, he was a lineman, center for the football team. I was driving him home. And he told me that basically he says his parents they've never really prayed with him. They don't really talk about spiritual stuff, nothing. And I just thought, how is it that we have leaders in our church that don't even try to disciple their own children? No wonder we have the flashiest shows in the world, and we're losing ground faster than a lot of other places in the world. Because we like to watch shows, but we don't really do it ourselves. Famous quote, I've heard this many times over the years, I don't even know where it originates from. Most Christians are educated way beyond their level of obedience. And the reason you aren't obedient is because your heart is divided. You're not like Jim Thorpe. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do my best to try to make this happen. You are convenience driven. Let me take it even further by going back to the statement I made at the very beginning. If you live looking for excuses to not be obedient to Christ, a reason why you don't need to deal with that addiction, a reason why you don't need to pray with your kids. I'm not really good with words. I don't really have any biblical education. I don't know how. My marriage isn't really that great. I don't know what I'm going to do with. If you live looking for excuses to not be obedient, I can't outpace your reluctance and excuses. I can't do it. Until your heart changes, you will find a reason to not obey Christ. I have a prayer that the staff helped put together. I love this, and it's a confession. So if you're sitting out there, you probably find yourself sitting in one of a couple different chairs. For some of you sitting out there, you're going, I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense, but I still don't feel passionate for the things that I should feel passionate about. The truth is, cults, at least they used to, maybe they don't now, the cults fire my heart up, and Jesus makes me sleepy. If you're sitting in that chair, I want you to know you're not alone. And it is okay to pray, God, help me to want you more. You get it? Help me to want you more. It is a great prayer to fall on your knees before a holy and just God, before the almighty creator of the universe, and go, for whatever reason, I am not broken. And for whatever reason, I don't care, and I need to. And God, by your grace, I pray that you would ignite something deep inside me. Birth it, bring it to life, set it ablaze. Help me to want you more. The other seat that you might be sitting in, you might be sitting there today and you're going, I do want Christ, but I'm not sure where to go and I'm not sure how to respond. I'm not sure what to do. I want to encourage you, coming up in 2 weeks, we have our D group. We are officially externally launching a program that teaches people how to disciple people, and it's super simple. We literally started with, a handful of us, and then went to 20, and it's all been underground movement. We're trying to teach people how to disciple people, and it's grown and grown and grown. We've been doing more, and it went from, a couple of people to 20 people, to 100 people, to I think it's like 200 or 300 that are involved in it now, but it's all been underground grassroots movement. And next week, this coming Sunday after this next week, we have our first external launch of that, where it becomes an official program of the church. And by program, we're trying to not make it a program, as funny as that is. We want it to be owned individually. But I want to encourage you to come that Sunday night. We're literally going to teach you how simple it is to disciple your own kids. It's going to be at East Fisher's Oleo location at 6 o'clock.
29th.
The 29th. Clearly, he needs to be doing the final announcement, not me. But I want you to put it on your calendars and come. This is not complicated. So here is the confession. I'm going to give this to you, and then we're going to be done here. The confession is this. And this is a prayer, okay? So I'm going to read this to you first, and I'm going to read it clear and slow. And then we're going to pray this together. And you can pray with your eyes open, right? You don't have to memorize this. You can pray it with your eyes open. So I'm going to read it to you first, and then we're going to go back over it again as a prayer. We believe that this is a prayer, so this is to God. We believe that you have called your church to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world, okay? We're called. This is what we're called to be. We are called to be the beautiful, taste-enhancing preservative of God's grace to the world. You, all of us, are called to do this. This is not a cruise ship waiting for death trying to make you comfortable. Salt of the earth and light of the world. Your Son, Jesus, models for us what it looks like to bring truth and love to the hopeless. We confess that we have not always shared your heart for the lost, but focused on ourselves. Lord, make us new. What have we done? We focused on ourselves. Lord, make us new. We ask that your Spirit would give us your heart for those around us who don't know you. Embolden us to proclaim the gospel so the world would see Christ. All right, we're going to pray this together. With our eyes open, reading it. That's okay. We're going to pray this together, all right? So here we go, together in prayer. We believe that you have called your church to be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Your Son, Jesus, models for us what it looks like to bring truth and love to the hopeless. We confess that we have not always shared your heart for lost people, but focused on ourselves. Lord, make us new. We ask that your Spirit would give us your heart for those around us who don't know you. Embolden us to proclaim the gospel so the world would see Christ. If you would, grab the Next Steps cards in the back of the seat in front of you. Again, you don't come to church to just be entertained. We ask the question, what does this mean to you? What's the Holy Spirit speaking into your heart? Maybe what you need to write on the card is, Father, help me to want you. You know the desires of your heart are off. You have a lifetime of training yourself to love the wrong things. Let me say that again. You have your lifetime of training yourself to love the wrong things. And you've become pretty good at it. Maybe you need to write on the card, God, help me to want you. Maybe you need to write on the card a name of somebody you know you need to finally step up and go, I'm going to have that cup of coffee. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to work on this relationship, whatever it might be, whatever the Holy Spirit's speaking into your heart. Maybe you need to make a decision to follow Jesus. Yes, even non-believing guests can come during fall break. fall break. I think I said it spring break earlier, fall break. I got it right this time. Whatever break we're on. But I want you to take just a few moments before the Lord and on your card, what's he speaking into your heart? Don't just listen, reflect. What does this mean for me? Take the card right before God, go. We just want to thank you for watching the sermon online. If God is working in your heart, we would love to hear about it. You can go online, www.encountertrinity.com/nextstepscard. You can fill out information there. Let us know what God is doing in your heart. If you need help with anything, we would love to help. Counseling, we would love to do anything that we can to help you go to that next level spiritually. When you fill this out, it goes to one of our pastors. It is private, and we will take care of that information to the best of our ability. We love you, we care about you, and we want to see God do great things in your life. Have a great day.